And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Mufasa's Daily Book Reading at Noon. My name is Mpomgona, and I am your reader for today. We are reading our third book. We're reading Stephen Covey's The Eighth Habit, From Effectiveness to Greatness. So this is a new book. Remember, if you've missed any of the readings from our previous books, you can find them in playlists on our YouTube channel, which hopefully you have subscribed to. Remember to also leave comments about which books you'd like us to read next, and any other gems you found in the previous books that we've read. We really want to engage with you, and for any coaching inquiries, please do email us at info@mufasacoaching.com. Absolutely amazing to have you here today for our 10-minute reading. Let me start reading. We're reading our second chapter today, and it is titled The Problem. Hello to the people who are watching now live, and hello to you if you're going to be watching in the replay. Remember to hashtag replay. I'm watching. Good to see you. Also leave a like and also a comment, okay, and share this to your network. Thank you. So my 10 minutes is set after that wonderful intro. I must say so myself. The problem. When the infrastructure shifts, everything rumbles. And that is a quote by Stan Davis. We are witnesses to one of the most significant shifts in human history. Peter Drucker, one of the greatest management thinkers of our time, puts it this way. In a few hundred years, when the history of our time is written from a long-term perspective, it is likely that the most important event those historians will see is not technology, not the internet, not e-commerce. It is an unprecedented change in the human condition. From the first time, literally substantial and rapidly growing numbers of people have choices. For the first time, they will have to manage themselves, and society is totally unprepared for it. To understand the core problem and the profound implications of Drucker's prophetic statement, we must look first at the context of history, namely the 5 stages of civilization's voice. First, the hunter and gatherer age. Second, the agricultural age. Third, the industrial age. Fourth, the information knowledge worker age. And finally, an emerging age of wisdom. Imagine for a moment that you take a step back in time and are a hunter and a gatherer of food. Each day you go out with a bow and arrows, stones and sticks to gather food for your family. That's all you've ever known, seen and done to survive. Now imagine someone comes up to you and tries to persuade you to become what he calls a farmer. What do you think your response would be? You see him go out and scratch the earth, then throw little seeds into the ground, and you see nothing. You see him watering the soil and removing weeds, and are still you seeing nothing. But eventually, you see a great harvest. You notice his yield as a farmer is 50 times greater than yours as a hunter and gatherer. And you are considered one of the best. What would you do? You would likely say to yourself, even if I wanted to, I couldn't do that. I don't have the skills and I don't have the tools. You just wouldn't know how to work that way. Now, is a productive the farmer is so productive that you see him making enough money to send his kids to school and give them great opportunities. You are barely surviving. Little by little, you're drawn to go through the intense learning process of becoming a farmer. You raise your children and grandchildren as farmers. That's exactly what happened in our early history. There was a downsizing of hunters and gatherers over 90%. They lost their jobs. Several generations pass, and along comes the industrial age. People build factories and learn specializations, delegation, and scalability. They learn how to take raw materials through an assembly line with very high levels of efficiency. The productivity of the industrial age goes up 50 times over the family farm. Now, if you're a farmer producing 50 times more than hunters and gatherers, and all of a sudden you see an industrial factory rise up and start outproducing the family farm by 50 times, what would you say? You might be jealous, even threatened. But but what would you need to be a player in the industrial age? You would need a completely new skill set and tool set. More importantly, you need a new mindset, a new way of thinking. The fact is that the factory of the industrial age produced 50 times more than the family farm, and over time, 90% of the farmers were downsized. Those who survived in farming took the industrial age concept and created the industrialized farm. Today, only 3% of the people in the United States are farmers, who produce most of the food for the entire country and much of the world. Do you believe that the information knowledge worker age with we're moving into will outproduce the industrial age 50 times? I believe it will. We're just barely beginning to see it. It will outproduce it 50 times, not twice, not 3 times, not or 10 times, but 50. Nathan, former chief technology officer at Microsoft, puts it this way: the top software developers are more productive than average software developers, not by a factor of 10 times or 100 times or even 1,000 times, but by 10,000 times. Quality knowledge work is so valuable that unleashing its potential offers organizations an extraordinary opportunity for value creation. If that is true, just think of the value of unleashing the potential of your children. Knowledge works, Knowledge work leverages all of the other investments that one organization or a family has already made. In fact, knowledge workers are the link to all the organization's other investments. They provide focus, creativity, and leverage in utilizing those investments to better achieve the organization's objectives. Do you believe that the knowledge worker age will eventually bring about a downsizing of up to 90% of the industrial age workforce? I believe it. Current outsourcing and unemployment trends are just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, these trends have become a very hot political issue. But the reality is that much of our losses in the industrial age jobs have less to do with government policy and free trade agreements than they do with the dramatic shift in our economy to the knowledge worker age. Do you think it will be threatening to today's workforce to learn new mindset, the new skill sets, the new tool sets of this new age? Imagine what it will take. Imagine what it will take for you, what it will take to be a player in this new era. Imagine what it will require of your organization. Drucker, Drucker compares the industrial manual worker age with today's knowledge worker age this way: the most important and indeed the truly unique contribution of management in the 20th century was the 50-fold increase in the productivity of the manual worker in manufacturing. The most important contribution management needs to make in the 21st century is similarly to increase the productivity of knowledge work and the knowledge worker. The most valuable assets of the 20th century company were its production equipment. The most valuable assets of the 21st century institution, whether business or non-business, will be its knowledge workers and their productivity. The great historian Arnold Toynbee said that you could pretty well summarize the history of society and the institution in it in 4 words: nothing fails like success. In other words, when you have a challenge and the response is equal to the challenge, that's called success. But once you have a new challenge, The old, once successful response no longer works. That's why it's called a failure. We live in a knowledge worker age, but operate our organizations in a controlling industrial age model, and that absolutely suppresses the release of human potential. Voice is essentially irrelevant. This is an outstanding finding. The mindset of the industrial age that still dominates today's workplace will simply not work in the knowledge worker age and new economy. And the fact is, people have taken the same controlling mindset home. So often it dominates the way we communicate and deal with our spouses and the way we try to manage, motivate, and discipline our children. And I think that's where we'll stop it for today. Kind of just got the facts that the solution, the frequency of the solution and the frequency of the problem are different in this age that we're going into. So it's very nice that we're going to be tackling new mindsets, and it's going to be interesting to see what new mindset he thinks we should use in moving into this knowledge-based era, knowledge work, and knowledge and being efficient and productive knowledge workers. I'll see you on Thursday. I'll see you on Wednesday, because all of our readings now are happening on Mondays, Wednesdays, as well as Fridays. If you missed any of the readings from last week, you can have a look at our YouTube channel. The link to that is in the description of today's live. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on Wednesday. Goodbye.